opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of WWDB, its staff, or management.
You are listening to In the Know with David O. Informative, substantive, intelligent talk radio on 860 AM WWDB. And now, your host, Philadelphia Councilman David O.
Good afternoon. This is David O. Thank you for joining me once again here on WWDB 860 AM and also 104.9 FM. So either way, AM, FM, tune in because we have some great guests, some really interesting and useful information, and some great experiences to share. I always say, after lunch, feed your brain, expand your mind, and this is a great place to do it. We have some very important topics to talk about, and we will be talking to Carol Eggert. She's not just somebody you might run across the street. Did you know that she's got a Purple Heart? That means she was wounded in combat, and she is a brigadier general. So General retired Carol Eggert, who is also senior vice president at Comcast, and she's heads up the Military and Veterans Affairs Division of Comcast, and they are in particular committed to hiring 10,000 veterans, and that includes spouses and family members, but 10,000 veterans. And listen, I don't know, but they said they're going to do it by the end of this year. That's a pretty big order, but if anybody can do it, General Eggert can do it. So stay tuned. We'll be talking with her, and then kind of in between our guests, we're going to be delighted to hear from a Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter, fantastic guitar player. He plays with the best. I could give you a long list, but right now he's touring with John Legend. He's performed with Kanye West and so many others, and basically they hire him because, these performers, they need a band, they need musicians, and he is on call for so many different types of stars and different genres of music. But that is Ben O'Neill, and he is a great musician himself, and he will be performing, and he's from this area as well. And then finally, we're going to talk to Anna Stormer. She is the coordinator of the Women Veterans Center here in Philadelphia, and that's part of a wonderful organization, the Veterans Multi-Service Center. And we were talking to the executive director, Tim Williams, colonel retired, just really amazing person and a wonderful, wonderful gentleman. If you remember last week, we were talking to Jerry Lynn Johnson, who is the founder and artistic director of the Black Pearl Chamber Orchestra, and then Jimmy DeSaint, who turned his life around while doing 10 years in federal prison, where he went from basically drug dealer to author and DeSaint Entertainment. And I'll tell you, I never spoke to a person who was more positive, because I asked him, what did you think when you heard you were going to do 10 years? He said, well, I thought I was in the right place. And so I was really surprised by that. But, just that positive attitude and what he's done through his writing and other types of skills and abilities. And then we had fun with Andrew Calamano, who is the founder of the Philly Craft Beer Festival, and that was last Saturday. And so that was all a lot of fun. Let me start by thanking the show's sponsor, Weinerman Pain and Wellness, for bringing this program to all of you and being our lead sponsor, and to all our advertisers, and to Brian Sanders, who's standing here with his big camera and big lens, a very expensive camera, I assume, but he's with Brian Sanders Photography. He comes out all the time to help out. At this time, let me introduce you to Carol Eggert, Brigadier General, retired U.S. Army. And currently she is Senior Vice President at Comcast, where she in particular engages military and veterans community, including recruiting, hiring, and building talent at all levels of the organization. She leads an 8-person team, and she brings more than 30 years of military and civilian experience to Comcast. Comcast is a big employer here in Philadelphia and a brand name globally. And Comcast is committed to hiring 10,000 veterans, and she is leading that effort. She has had command positions She has had a full military career and has served overseas in many different theaters and countries, and done things in particular with women as well, women's initiatives. And so she's had a very illustrious career, and we're very pleased to have her with us here. So let me introduce you to Carol Eggert.
Thank you so much, Councilman. You ask, who am I?
Yes.
Well, I would say I'm a person that is lucky enough to find an incredible job where after 30 years of military service, I can continue to serve that community. Comcast is committed to that community, and we've created this department, and it's so exciting.
Well, I certainly appreciate that. I know many people do. I mean, and for Comcast to make this commitment and basically make the commitment through hiring you and putting you in the lead. Let me ask you, what are your challenges? What are your goals as we look at 2017?
Well, I would like to comment on that display of commitment. For Comcast to put not only me, to bring me in and set this team up, this is a brand new position, but to recognize the military expertise that we bring to the table and to fund a team of 8 and to promote me.
Yeah, yes.
I mean, that definitely shows a commitment, and I'm so honored to work for them. But you ask, what are the challenges? I often speak of the civilian-military divide, and I'm sure you've seen that.
Yes.
When at any point less than 1% serve of the adult population, there's many folks that, through no fault of their own, are not familiar with the military community. And now that it's an all-volunteer force, it isn't your neighbor walking off to duty or coming back from war. It's often hidden heroes. And so that's a challenge we face, to help folks that aren't familiar with the military community become more familiar with the military community. I mean, in fact, it is a unique community. So how do we address the needs from recruiting and hiring, but also talent development, and then also as customers? They have unique needs as customers for us at Comcast.
Right.
So we want to make sure we're meeting those needs.
You know, I was talking to a friend of mine, a veteran, and he was a little gruff, and he said, "Is this real? This 10,000 hiring? I'm a veteran. Is this real? Tell me." And I said, "Listen, why don't you listen to the radio show, because we're going to have the person in charge who's leading the way, and that's General Eggert." So how would you answer a guy like this? Is this real?
So the fact that they put a team together, absolutely, it's real. We partner with our talent acquisition and our HR community. We don't go out and do the hiring. We make sure they understand where to find military talent, how to interview military talent, how to support them once they're hired. So that shows definitely a commitment. We've hired well over 6,000 now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think definitely, and some of the initiatives from our team is we've put together e-learning tools to help folks understand the military community. We stood up the Comcast Employer School, which is an online library at no cost to all employers to help them set up a hiring initiative.
That's fantastic.
It's available for anybody. It's no cost, and it's under Psych Armor, and it's the Comcast Employer School. So it's for real.
Yes. I mean, the fact that you hired 6,000 already, and you're closing that gap to hire the final 4,000, at least for this target, and who knows what'll come next. But for so many people, they wonder, about commitments to hire veterans. For example, as you know, we have 2 tax credits in Philadelphia.
Thanks to you.
Well,
very
thank
much.
you. One of them is the Veterans Hiring Tax Credit. So for anybody out there, if you're a returning veteran and you're looking for a job, basically your employer, by hiring you, gets $5,000 off if you're a full-time employee for 3 years. That's $15,000. So if they hire 10 people, that's $150,000 off of their business taxes. And also, if you are called to active duty as a reservist or a National Guards man or woman, basically you can apply for a partial tax credit, because we cannot cut the school district's portion of the property tax, but the city's portion of the property tax will be cut, during the time that you were serving. And what I tell people is, that basically it's a win-win. Not only are we helping those who protect us in service, but basically as a city, we are attracting a lot of talent, a lot of proven, capable talent. And with the tax credit, we encourage employers to learn about what veterans have to offer. But here's Comcast already doing it, kind of separate and apart from this tax credit, although I hope, Comcast takes advantage of the tax credit. But this is a commitment that Comcast makes. From your personal experience, both in and out of the military, what would you say that veterans bring to the table to an employer like Comcast and to any employer?
I'm glad you asked that, because in my initial interview, I asked Dave Watson, I report to the chief operating officer, and I said, why are you doing this? And had he said to me, well, it's the nice thing to do for the military community, I would have said, no thanks. Right. But he said, because we are growing and we recognize the talent that they bring. So that's the right answer. There has to be a business case for hiring military. We've done some data analysis, and that analysis has shown that our military employees feel more empowered to affect change. They're more motivated in their jobs. So we do a survey of employee attitude survey. Also shown that their retention rate is a little bit different. So that's just some data. But right. I think we all recognize that in the military you're given responsibility at a very early age. You've got folks as lieutenants and captains taking teams over to a combat zone, responsible for training, equipping, feeding, housing, safety. So imagine doing that at the young age of 27, yes. 26. That's immense responsibility. And in a very unfamiliar environment. So they're very comfortable, generally speaking, with change, with making fast decisions, with supporting those decisions, and then working on teams. And this is proven as right. we've hired folks.
Now, you've had such a illustrious career, including being the Assistant Adjutant General for the Pennsylvania National Guard, which means basically she's the assistant commander of the Pennsylvania National Guard. And the National Guard in today's military is constantly engaged in active duty service on multiple deployments, for those who don't know. And she has held numerous other high-level positions as a colonel, as a general, as a major, so many things. But there was one time where you were in a life-threatening situation. Could you tell us about that? What happened that resulted in the award of the Purple Heart?
Well, I'll start by saying nobody wants a Purple Heart.
Yes, it's not a prize you seek.
And I would also say that anyone who raises their hand and pledges to support their country, whether or not they are injured in combat, has said, I am willing to be injured or to die for this country. So I almost think that everyone has a Purple Heart because they've raised their hand. I was unlucky enough to actually get injured in combat, but it was somewhat of a building experience because what it showed is that the team came together. So our vehicle was attacked by a multiple array of rockets, what they call an EFP, explosively formed projectile, that went right through our vehicle. White hot phosphorus. But I was so amazed to see how the team did exactly what they were supposed to do. They pulled security. They evacuated the injured. They made sure that we didn't have a follow-on incident, because oftentimes after you're attacked, then it's the ambush that follows.
Right.
So I was just so proud of the teammates. And in fact, there's a tradition in the military that the day you were injured or attacked is often called your alive day. It's the day you didn't die.
Right.
We kind of turned that around, our team, and we call it our gratitude day because it's a day you learned how much you have to be thankful for.
Wow.
And our team, we didn't know each other in this vehicle. Just think of it as a bus going from one place to another in a combat zone. But we still speak every August 21st. Check in with everybody. There's a bond that forms, and it's just incredible.
Wow. It's one of the things that happen because of the unique situations that you encounter in serving your country. Now, let me go back to this, because actually when you started in the military, you were a French horn player. So from French horn player to general to being in an ambush. So let's start back there, because when you went to college, were you thinking about joining the military?
So actually, I joined the military right out of high school.
Oh, did you? Okay.
I played the French horn in the high school band.
Because you were the coolest kid in the school, or what was going on there?
I came from a family of 8. All my brothers and sisters went to the University of Delaware. I'm the renegade. I said, I'm not going to the university. But, of course, I didn't have any money. I love the University of Delaware, by the way, but I wanted to go see the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I auditioned to play the French horn in the Army band. So when you mentioned being a general, what I'm most proud of is I've been enlisted for almost 11 years.
Okay.
So I've always been in a position to serve. But when I joined, very self-serving it was to get the GI Bill and to play the French horn. And I think that's so common for our military. We start out to help, to get a step up and to move forward. But I think we learn that it's all about service to country. And I stayed because of that.
Do you feel that today you are a different person than when you were in high school playing the French horn? Or are you basically the same person with a lot of responsibilities and experience, accomplishments?
I would think all of us would like to hope that we've grown and enriched others' lives and have a wider perspective than perhaps we did. And isn't that, in fact, our job is to widen our aperture and understand the world and to give as much as we can?
Well, let me ask you this, because among the things that you've done, I want to talk a little bit about being a woman in the military, because I was reading about you, and there was one part where you said this older veteran was looking at your ribbons, and then he remarked something about the Purple Heart, and you were thinking, he's gonna, because I'm a woman, and then he said, because you don't see many colonels with the Purple Heart.
We do tend to be a little defensive.
No, but I think that's very accurate, because women have been serving in combat theaters, and women have been serving in the military, but today, more than ever, there are women. Veterans and women active duty, but the attitudes are still that this is kind of a man's thing. And I say that as someone who goes to my veterans, group, my chapter meetings, and we have not a woman among us. And I think it's a shame, because, there are women who have served that are airborne that should be with us.
I have seen a great growth in this area. We've got our Women's Center here with us today that you're going to speak to.
Yes,
that speaks to that.
Talking to Anna Stormer soon. Yes.
The fact that we're recognizing women veterans. So I have seen a great change. And I think when you're out there on the battlefield, you just want somebody back there that's got your back. You don't really care. And I have found that to be so true. People respect anybody that can perform their job. So I think it has changed quite a bit, and it's all very encouraging. And hats off to our Secretary of Defense, who opened all positions to women. And
yes.
I think we'll see just incredible changes and contributions from everybody, because that's what we're after, the defense of this nation and anybody that can help defend the nation.
Okay, wonderful. Let me ask you about, in addition to the hiring and appreciation of veterans that Comcast has tasked you with, but you mentioned the customers and customers who are veterans. Is there something that you do in particular for veterans who are customers of Comcast?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. So the first year really focused on our benefits for employees who are Guard, Reserve, or veterans, or military spouses. We have an incredible military spouse package that support spouses should they need to move due to their military reassignments.
Okay.
We help them with finding a new position in our footprint. We have state-of-the-art benefits for our Guard and Reservists.
Right.
Paid time off. We match their pay, or we make up the difference in their military pay and our Comcast pay. We maintain their benefits. I mean, we are just known for incredible benefits for our Guard and Reservists. And for veterans, we make sure we recognize them. We have a digital wall of honor where they post their pictures. So I'm trying to increase awareness of who are the veterans among us, because we tend to be a rather reclusive group. We talk to each other, but not to those among us. So I'm trying to push that out. But when you ask about what we're doing for customers. That's my goal this year, is to how can we best serve the military community from a customer experience. And we're making some inroads there, but it's really the focus. Something as simple as you call in and you need to move service, that the customer agent understands why are you calling. So we've created codes that should you need to move for a military reason, you don't have to explain all that to the agent. So I think we're making some inroads, and we will continue to do that.
For folks who are listening that are thinking to themselves, hey, I'm a veteran or I know a veteran, how do they apply for jobs at Comcast? Is there a website, a central location for folks to go to?
So keep in mind our footprint is all across the nation. It's not just here in Philadelphia. We have a Comcast Military Careers, Comcast Careers/military, which recognizes the skills the military brings and explains our benefits. So the first place to go is to the career website and look it over and see, what fits with your skills.
Yes.
And don't be humble. Military folks tend to be very team-oriented, and they won't speak to their accomplishments. But that doesn't work in the civilian world when you're trying to get a job. In fact, this weekend we have a hiring initiative or hiring fair at our King of Prussia store, where we ask, it's an open house. We're asking our military folks to come in and learn about the jobs we have. So go to the website, and of course, our team is always available to help. And that's one thing we do, is we help interpret military skill.
Right.
I hired a combat medic, a tank commander, a public affairs officer. Sam Walter is a transportation officer. So folks would look at those resumes and say, we don't need that, but they don't understand that military folks can pretty much run anything. We have a C-130J pilot. He's in the Rhode Island National Guard. He leaves us on the weekend and goes and flies planes.
Right.
So I ask employers and hiring managers to open their aperture and kind of ask what can they bring to the job. It doesn't have to match their military nomenclature or their military skill.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. Well, it's great to have you here. Great to get to know you a little bit publicly. And listen, I didn't know about the French horn, so we're going to have you perform one of these days.
Well, thank you so much. I've always said you're a real supporter of the military community, and we invite you to all of our events.
Yes,
because we know you believe in that, and thank you for what you're doing to help the military community.
All right, fantastic.
Thanks for having me.
Well, listen, everyone, stay tuned because you're going to be really delighted to hear the musical performance of Ben O'Neill. He's coming up right after this commercial break.
You are listening to In the Know with David O. Informative, substantive, intelligent talk radio on 860 AM WWDB.
My friends, this is Joe Kraus. You've heard me on Philadelphia radio now for over 20 years, and you know I don't often endorse products or people unless they are real game changers. I want to tell you about Weinerman Pain and Wellness, located in Center City, Philadelphia. And at the end of this short personal endorsement, I want you to consider Weinerman Pain and Wellness. If you are recovering from an injury, if you or a family member has been diagnosed with a disorder that has stopped you in your tracks, or if you're like me, determined to learn about wellness while getting yourself prepared to stay healthy so you can enjoy the blessings of your family. Remember the name of this warm and caring location, Weinerman Pain and Wellness. Why should you consider Weinerman Pain and Wellness? Because they are who you expect them to be. Weinerman Pain and Wellness, on the web at WeinermanPainandWellness.com.
Weinerman Pain and Wellness, located at 100 South Broad Street, just south of City Hall. Call Weinerman Pain and Wellness at 215-988-9503. That's 215-988-9503. Call today. Today's broadcast is brought to you by the Philly Labor RX Injured Workers Pharmacy Network, featuring PPC Pharmacy, First Choice Pharmacy, and Precision Scripts, providing injured workers with premium products and services from the point of injury through the entire healing process. The Philly Labor RX Pharmacy Network cares about injured workers.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back. This is David O. here, WWDB 860 AM and 104.9 FM. We had a wonderful conversation with Brigadier General retired Carol Eggert, Senior Vice President at Comcast. And now we're going to be talking to just a wonderful musician, Ben O'Neill. And I've asked Ben just to do a little bit of one of his songs just as an intro. And this is a song he wrote called I Think We'll Win.
I don't like changing anything, but we need both the sun and Noah's rain. In a rushing stream, it's better just come from the desert, from the desert. But once you hear that fire and brimstone crack, you grab your bags and don't look back. But I turn to a pillar, that salt can be a killer, be a killer. Oh, we don't know where we're going, hardly know where to begin. But if we keep my guitars, give the money to the next of kin, I think we'll win. Oh, I think we'll win. Oh, we'll win.
All right, fantastic. Our studio sometimes does this artificial clapping. I hope they do it because everybody's clapping around here. All right. Outstanding. Listen, that was, here it is. That's not artificial. That's real. Grammy nominee Ben O'Neill. He's performed in over a dozen countries with some of the world's best known and most respected artists, including Jill Scott, John Legend, Kanye West, Common, Christina Aguilera, Music Soul Child, and Ty Tribbett. He's been on shows like Good Morning America, The Late Show with David Letterman, The Tonight Show, Conan, Jimmy Kimmel Live, Ellen, Carson Daly, VH1 Soul, and so many others. He has performed with the very best, and he has co-written tunes with people like Bilal and Ty Tribbett, and he has won many, many awards. He is an innovative, original artist, and he joins us, a person from our community, Ben O'Neill. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Councilman. I really appreciate it.
Now, you are just really a guitar player in demand. Your skills clearly are something that is very respected. And you were performing with John Legend, and you will be performing with him again.
That's right. We have a big U.S. tour coming up here. It starts in May. The rehearsals start in April. He just put his record out in December, and it's been a whirlwind of activity. We've been on so many TV shows and so many different cities. I'm not sure where I am right now. As a matter of fact, honestly, though, I did realize that I've been to Los Angeles 5 times in between December and January. I was in Los Angeles back and forth 5 times. So it's great to be in demand. What can I say?
Yes, no, that's good. It pays the bills, too, right?
It does, yeah.
Now, you also teach music.
Right. I teach at University of the Arts. I'm a graduate of University of the Arts, and then I went out and earned my spurs for a couple years, and they asked me to come back and teach some younger versions of myself, which is a real treat. It's actually one of the best things about teaching is that I'm constantly learning when I'm teaching. The students are are pushing themselves and sort of accidentally pushing me to learn new things and learn new ways of explaining techniques on the instrument or applications of harmony and theory. So that's actually, in a way, is sort of the less glamorous side of what I do for a living, but it's one of the most rewarding things that I do.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, so much of the music that I know, from knowing you, is kind of like country, folk, kind of popish, but you actually were a jazz guitarist, were you not?
That's right. I moved to Philadelphia because I just knew that Pat Martino lived in this city, who's a guitar legend. And
right.
Not because I thought I was going to, meet him. I just knew he lived here, so I came.
That's powerful. I better put that in my little notebook.
Yeah, Pat's he's a hero. But yeah, I studied jazz in school, and that absolutely informed my own music, although I don't think anyone would ever really mistake my music as jazz music. I think one of my challenges, but also interests as an artist, is pulling together a variety of influences and making a cohesive statement with it. Louis Armstrong said there's only good music and bad music, so I'm interested in the good part of it.
So is it also a challenge that you kind of present like your own genre of music? It's not quite this, it's not quite that sometimes, which personally, listen, I love, and I encourage all our listeners to check out Ben O'Neill. But what does that do when you're kind of like got your own style, your brand? What's happening there?
We talk about this all the time. Yes, my wife and I talk about this all the time. Some of my favorite artists sort of defy categorization. As an artist like Beck, I have an old friend who's in his band. He's a great artist, been around for 20 years. Nobody really complains about the fact that you can't categorize him. An artist like Tom Waits has done a tremendous amount of odd music, and now we just look at them as innovators and inspirations, not what box do we put these guys in?
Right.
I think the change in technology, the use of the internet has created sort of a million niche markets for music. And personally, I've been incredibly fortunate to play for an artist the size of John Legend, a great big R&B pop act like that, and see how that's done. That's been a blessing. But there are so many other musicians out there who are never going to achieve that level of financial success or commercial success, and are still making great art in their own lane anyway. So I think that's what I shoot for as an artist, to try to be true to the art, and sort of I believe that the audience will come from that.
Off the cuff, could you give us a little bit of TikTok, either guitar or with or without voice?
Come on, Councilman.
Look at that. This is a live show, folks. Look, I'm making him do this.
Let me see here. Talk goes the grandfather clock by the mantelpiece. What was I thinking? But how could I know that you'd really go away?
All right, that's a little jazz there, a little jazzy guitar. I love that song. That's fantastic. But that's the variety that we're talking about. And, I wanted to throw that in there because, you bring a lot of different stylistic capabilities to your music, and that's what we were just talking about. Now, listen, people, you can hear some of this original music by Ben O'Neill. He's got a new CD out. It was released September 8th of last year, live at the Kaplan.
That's right. We recorded that at University of the Arts at a live show. It has an incredible band on it, and all the new material. We're putting out some of that material and some new songs in an EP that's a studio EP that'll be out in about July, August. But right now you can get the live CD from my website, benoneilmusic.com.
Okay, benoneilmusic.com. And if they want to see you live, you're going to be performing at Ortlieb's.
That's right. On
this Thursday, right?
That's right, Thursday. The show starts at 8 o'clock, and it's a wonderful thing. It's put on by a small organization called Band Aid, and they raise money for people affected by cancer, and they've raised tens of thousands of dollars just in the Philadelphia area, putting on local shows with people like me, and then donating the money to a good cause. So I'm glad that I can join my music with that cause on Thursday night.
Okay, wonderful. Now, in terms of your songwriting, is there anything that you kind of find at the center of your music?
Yeah, well, I think the general purpose of art is to help us understand the human condition better, and that means that we have to take a serious look at the good and the bad.
Right.
I think the songwriters who have influenced me, Paul Simon, Bob Dylan, a contemporary guy named Jason Isbell, for example, they don't shy away from looking at some of the harder things in life. I wouldn't say that they embrace the darkness, but they certainly don't hide from it.
Right.
So I think a sincerity in looking at the human condition is kind of the common thread for me. That includes, time and mortality and love and loss, and also the joy that is common in all of those things.
Right.
I think I'm just trying to look sincerely at the human condition.
Okay. Well, listen, everybody. On a closing note, we're going to ask Ben O'Neill to perform one of his songs. It's an upbeat song called "Something to Hang My Hat On."
For talking, but this year loosened my lips. 10 years ago I thought I'd be like Willie the Kid. Turns out there ain't no romance in getting shot in the ribs. I thought I'd get enlightened when I went to Big Sur. Instead I ignored the mirror, get drunk and hug a few curves. I thought I'd be the poster child of hope and good cheer, but despite what you hear, all I know is this year I could use something hang my hat on, something to hang my hat on. This year for my birthday, I think I'd like a home run. I could use something to hang my hat on, something to hang my hat on. I'd like to get a win before it's all said and done. Don't get me wrong, I bust them lips, I squeeze them hips, but it's been a strange trip. I thought I'd get enlightened when my album came out, and they'd be screaming and shouting, saying, what's this about? And I thought I'd be the poster child of hope and good cheer, but despite what you hear, all I know is this year I could use something to hang my hat on, something to hang my hat on. This year for my birthday, I think I'd like a home run. I could use something to hang my hat on, something to hang my hat on. If I have to get older, I'd like to have a little fun. Baby, just beg, don't pray. The future is yours to make. I could use something to hang my hat on, something to hang my hat on. This year for my birthday, I think I'd like a home run. I could use something to hang my hat on, something to hang my hat on. I'd like to get a win before it's all said and done.
All right, Ben O'Neill. Check him out.
Thanks.
All right, and now we're going to take a commercial break, but stay tuned because we're going to hear about women veterans and particularly the Women Veterans Center with Anna Stormer.
You are listening to In the Know with David O. Informative, substantive, intelligent talk radio on 860 AM WWDB.
My friends, this is Joe Kraus. You've heard me on Philadelphia radio now for over 20 years, and you know I don't often endorse products or people unless they are real game changers. I want to tell you about Weinerman Pain and Wellness, located in Center City, Philadelphia. And at the end of this short personal endorsement, I want you to consider Weinerman Pain and Wellness. If you are recovering from an injury, if you or a family member has been diagnosed with a disorder that has stopped you in your tracks, or if you're like me, determined to learn about wellness while getting yourself prepared to stay healthy so you can enjoy the blessings of your family. Remember the name of this warm and caring location, Weinerman Pain and Wellness. Why should you consider Weinerman Pain and Wellness? Because they are who you expect them to be. Weinerman Pain and Wellness, on the web at WeinermanPainandWellness.com.
Weinerman Pain and Wellness, located at 100 South Broad Street, just south of City Hall. Call Weinerman Pain and Wellness at 215-988-9503. That's 215-988-9503. Call today. Today's broadcast is brought to you by the Philly Labor RX Injured Workers Pharmacy Network, featuring PPC Pharmacy, First Choice Pharmacy, and Precision Scripts, providing injured workers with premium products and services from the point of injury through the entire healing process. The Philly Labor RX Pharmacy Network cares about injured workers.
Do you let other people order for you at a restaurant?
He'll have the saumon lyonnaise.
No, I won't. Or pick the movie you're going to see?
She'd like a ticket to Attack on Rage Mountain.
Really?
Now, come on. So why would you let others make all the important decisions about how your life is going to be when you get older? I mean, is it okay with you if your kids decide where you're going to live?
My kids? Are you out?
Are you kidding?
Or perfect strangers choose who will be taking care of you?
Not gonna happen.
No,
Better visit longtermcare.gov, the trusted information site that helps you find your own path forward without selling you anything. It takes you step by step through everything you need to consider about aging and all your options. Longtermcare.gov. Stay in charge by planning now or pay later.
How about a mohawk? How about a mohawk? How about I put my foot right... Oh, hi, honey.
At any given moment, somewhere in America, a baby is taking a first step, a developmental milestone. But for too many parents, a baby's first steps aren't just a milestone. They're a miracle. These are the parents of babies who were born prematurely or with birth defects. It's a crisis affecting more than 500,000 babies in the United States each year. You can help them by joining volunteers like you who walk in March for Babies. The money you raise funds research and local programs that help babies overcome the challenges of premature birth and birth defects. Together, our steps make stronger, healthier babies a reality for thousands of families. Sign up today at marchforbabies.org to take the steps that help make milestones and even miracles possible. Who will you march for?
Introducing the YMCA. What, you already know the why? Or so you think. Sure, you know the why for a swim, a workout, even a game of hoops. But did you know we're more than that? We're a cause. When you take your jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Take a cardio class, while kids are in an after-school enrichment program. Practice your downward-facing dog as a teen practices her leadership skills. That's the why. We work with people no matter their age, income, or background and give them the opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive, all with one simple goal in mind, to strengthen our community. And we've got so much more that does just that. So while you might think of the Y as that place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. Introducing the Y. We're so much more than a place. We're a cause. Visit ymca.net/more.
All right, and we are back. Thank you for spending this time with me and my amazing guests. I hope you had a chance to listen to Ben O'Neill as he performed the guitar and sang some of his original music. You can always check him out at benO'NeillMusic.com. And now we're joined by Anna Stormer. She is a coordinator of the Women Veteran Center that is part of the Philadelphia Veterans Multi-Service Center. And in particular, we have women that serve our country just like the men, and there is a special need that is being addressed, and I'm so glad to have you with us here today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you to Ben and General Eggert for starting off the show. It's amazing to be sitting in a room with them, and you as well, Councilman O'Neill. But this is amazing because when we say we're serving those who serve, that's the mission of the Veterans Multi-Service Center.
Yes.
And that goes directly back to what General Eggert said is, people who are veterans have raised their hand, especially now. So they've stood up in some capacity and said, I want to serve our country. I want to keep us safe. I want to help in some capacity. And that's what we do at the Veterans Multi-Service Center. We serve those who've served. And at the Women's Center, our mission is to help women veterans as they transition back to civilian life, or if they're further along in their transition, heal, grow, and thrive. And what that means is we offer comprehensive resources, comprehensive initiatives, events, programming to really meet all needs of women veterans and their families.
Right. Now, I know you just celebrated your third birthday.
Yes.
Is that yes?
Yes,
right?
we did. It was wonderful in January.
Yes, and so the program's really doing very well, doing some great work. And I saw some of the women veterans there. And could you describe to our listeners like some of the things that attract them to the Women's Veterans Center?
Well, first and foremost, we are a program of the VMC, so all of the services that are provided at the Veterans Multi-Service Center, so if that's help with housing, if that's help with job placement, if that's attending any of the functions at our day drop-in center, all of those are still accessible at the Women's Center. So I want to make sure that people understand they can still receive all of the same services as a female veteran at our big VMC, or if they feel more comfortable in our designated facility across the street. So any of the case management, all of those services are still provided in a unique facility, and it's tailored to their needs. So when we say we offer comprehensive services, everything at the VMC, and then in addition to, we also offer a designated space. So we have a lending library that we just started.
Yes.
We have space for children. So if women veterans need to come to use the computers, we still have space for their kids. So really eliminating any barriers to treatment and any barriers to outside or internal resources. So making sure that we offer a dedicated space to them.
Yes, and for people who are listening, how could they find out more about the services that are provided?
So you can check us out online. We have
yes.
Our website is vmcenter.org. And then also for any of our upcoming events, we have a Facebook page. So check out Veterans Multi-Service Center. And then the Women's Veteran Multi-Service Center has its own Facebook page. So it tailors all of the different events and upcoming programs to them.
Okay, now, and you yourself, you actually have a master's degree in that specializes in trauma therapy.
Yes. So
now, I know you don't practice that at the VMC, but that's your background. What got you interested in that topic?
Oh gosh, I think it just goes back to really what motivates me as a person, and really what my core belief is because you don't go into the nonprofit world really to really make money, right? This is
right.
You don't go into it for the big bucks, but you do it because I feel an innate sense of purpose and an innate sense of self to help. And then I'm also, personally connected as a wife of a veteran to veteran causes and initiatives. So professionally, I feel called to sort of put my money where my mouth is, right? So making sure that when I say I'm an advocate and a resource for veterans, I'm making sure that I do that professionally and in my personal career as well.
And before you came to the Veterans Multi-Service Center, you actually were involved with the Montgomery County Vet Center and also the Wounded Warrior Project.
Right. Shout out to the vet centers because they are an amazing avenue for help, an amazing advocates for mental health and resources. So they are fantastic offshoots of the VA. So they are in the community. They offer mental health counseling for veterans and their family members and their spouses, so spouses can go as well. And they really do boots on the ground, honest to wonderful work. And then with the Wounded Warrior Project, I traveled all throughout the state of Pennsylvania meeting folks, and that helped me sort of transition into planning programming for the Women's Center because it allowed me to sort of get feedback all the time. Veterans are one of the most honest populations, so they'll tell you if they don't like something. They'll tell you if you want to see something. So it sort of was a wonderful blend of my skills, sort of trauma therapy, planning events, outreach, at the Wounded Warrior Project to transition now to the Veterans Multi-Service Center.
Do you think that there are a lot of veterans out there, female veterans, who have yet to take advantage of the services and benefits that they have earned by raising their hand in service of their country?
Absolutely. I mean, I was just laughing with General Eggert about it. It says women veterans most often will sort of identify as a veteran as the fourth or fifth thing they'll say. So they'll first say, I am married to so-and-so. This is my job. I'm the mom. And then sort of 20 minutes into a conversation, they'll say, oh, well, I'm also a veteran. It's like, wait a minute. You stood up, you served, and we have, a unique facility designated for you. We have unique programming for you.
Right.
So, whether that be a health and wellness initiative, we go to the free library once a month to do a veterans-only cooking class, yoga, whether it's job resources, or even sort of just fellowship. I mean, we hold a once-a-month women veteran-only dinner.
Yes.
So really making sure that we offer comprehensive programming to them, where they are, meeting them where they are at and what the needs might be.
Yeah, I personally am so glad to see this, and, I just wonder because, as a councilman, I go out and I speak to different veterans, and there have been some rough situations, and so many times I've run into women veterans who basically say, I feel left out. I have no place to go. The men can get together with their comrades and share stories and blow off some steam. And I, as a woman, I'm left out of that. And I feel basically, kind of like the stepchild here. And for you to have this program, I think that's wonderful. But how are you getting the word out, and how are you putting these programs together in an effective way?
Well, by participating in avenues like this, by having,
Yes.
going to different initiatives that, someone like Comcast would put on. But really, I am shameless about it. I mean, I will go anywhere that there might be one veteran, female veteran, who would say, I could meet that person. I mean, I shamelessly held up this, I have a picture here with a VMC on it in front of the photographer because hoping that someone may see it. So
are they responding?
They are responding, and it's so wonderful. Once you open up that door, now that our doors are here and they're open, we have seen a wonderful response from the veteran community saying, wow, I feel comfortable here. I can see both doors. I know the exits. I mean, having a trauma-informed background allowed me to sort of envision the space in a welcoming environment, but also safety, and also putting sort of the needs of MST, PTSD, all of those thoughts into making sure that they feel welcomed at the center.
For women veterans who may just want to take a gander, take a peek, take a look, can you give the address of the
Anytime
center?
You want to, and that's true, and it's true.
Yes.
They'll come in and they'll see, what do you have to offer for me? And then they'll take a step back. And I'm not a veteran. I don't pretend to be, but I do say I'm an advocate, and I am here, and I care, and I'm willing to listen to any of your feedback. We have a survey online. We do a monthly e-blast. So anytime they want to share their thoughts, I want to hear them to make sure that we're reaching them as best that we can. So please check us out. vmcenter.org is our big website. We're also on Facebook. And should you meet anyone, please, I'll give you my card. You can always call us. And our address is 259 North Lawrence Street. We're in Old City. We have a doorbell. Please ring it. Anytime I will come in. I'll come and let you in. You can check it out and then give me your feedback. So all female veterans are always welcome.
Okay, that's fantastic. Now, as you look at 2017, what are you hoping to accomplish this year?
To keep growing. I mean, we really want to make sure that we have a comprehensive center that continues to thrive. So we have a wonderful foundation. We've served over 500 women veterans and their families in the past 3 years. So I see us building on that foundation and then growing and moving forward, based upon the feedback that we receive, and really moving forward in a comprehensive way, making sure we hit all of our bases and offer all of the wonderful comprehensive services.
Do you see more younger veterans, female veterans showing up, or are you getting some of the female veterans of past service?
Well, we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. So, I mean, we wouldn't have the center if it were not for the Vietnam era veterans, if it weren't for the Persian Gulf era veterans. So, are the needs different for women veterans post 9/11? Sometimes. But I see a lot of the similarities in the need for inclusive services and a need for a designated space. I mean, I believe that translates across any sort of service area or time period. And so I guess, yes, we do have a wonderful mixture of both, and everyone from any time period is welcome.
Okay, and I think one of the issues that does arise that I believe that you address, particularly as a women's veteran center, is issues of trauma from service, especially those that involve sexual assault and sexual harassment.
So women veterans, from the statistics of 2016, 1 in 5 women veterans report being victims of military sexual trauma. And how we address that there at the center, we do not provide therapy, but we do offer comprehensive services that will address those needs in a way that makes them feel welcome and in a way that doesn't shy from it. So we understand that these are something that happens to women veterans, but we offer our services in a way that they feel comfortable, that they feel welcome, and we do have specific programming dedicated to that.
So for anyone out there who is listening and who either has experienced or knows someone who has experienced that sense of trauma that comes from serving and having an unfortunate experience and wanting someone to talk to, the Women's Veteran Center is
Call me
here
anytime.
To help.
Yes,
Anna
please.
Stormer. Yes.
Yes, anytime. And if we can't offer the services directly at the center, we have external resources we can refer you to as well.
Okay, well, listen, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right, and so everyone, listen, tune in next week for In the Know with David O.
You've been listening to In the Know with David O. on 860 AM WWDB. Tune in again next Tuesday at 2 p.m. for more informative, substantive, intelligent talk radio with Philadelphia Councilman David O.